So in many ways, the title of this video could be reworked just to talk about World Championship Wrestling. If you've never seen WCW in the year 2000, nearly everybody won a match they weren't officially in, and now because they are dead, well, it's really funny. It does happen across all of pro wrestling though, so I, Simon the Bald Idiot, thought we should share in some of these stories. So pull up a pew and grab a coffee. Let's go. Number 10, James Ellsworth at the 2017 Money in the Bank. So this one is really dumb. It's one of those scenarios where WWE either did it to wind up their audience, or, they're just a bit stupid. It was 2017 though, and to carry on their women's revolution, we finally decided to do a women's Money in the Bank match. And yeah, if we were doing one for males, why wouldn't you do one for the females? Shrug emoji. We had a star-studded field as well because it was Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Natalya, Tamina, and Carmella who were going to fight for this briefcase, and they went out there and they kicked each other's ass, to the point they were all down at the end of this thing when James Ellsworth, who was managing Carmella, climbed that ladder rung by rung. He grabbed the briefcase and he threw it to his client, and apparently this was perfectly in the rules, and Carmella was now Miss Money in the Bank. Now, there's nothing wrong picking Carmella because she was somebody that needed a push and needed some extra star power. But of course, there was massive backlash to this because it was a bit like, well, of course, the man had to climb up the damn ladder and get the thing. Let's not pretend that WWE didn't hear this noise because they cancelled the whole thing and then they redid the match on Raw. Maybe it was SmackDown, but the point was this time Carmella got the inanimate object and we never talked about it again. And that's because it was a silly Billy decision, my friends. At least we rectified it. McMahon Hornswaggle at the 2007 Great American Bash. So he's pretty mad that we can go back more than a decade and be finding things like this. And it all comes down to how Vince McMahon used to use Hornswaggle. There's nothing against old Swags. He had no choice. But for some reason, if Vince McMahon found himself in a position story-wise that he just wanted to get out of, well, he pulled Hornswaggle out of the ground and said, you go sort it. One of these was when he became the Cruiserweight Champion at the Great American Bash. And yes, you'll be surprised to hear, even though we were having a multi-man match, Hornswaggle wasn't in it. But it was Chavo Guerrero, Jamie Noble, Funaki, Shannon Moore, and Jimmy Wang Yang. And before the bell rang, Hornswaggle just appeared, he slid in the ring, somebody just went, oh yeah man, he is in it, when he went back and he hid beneath the ring for the entire match, when Jamie Noble, who was the champion, took a superplex, when Horns reappeared, he hit the tadpole splash, and he got the 1, 2, 3, he was the champion. I don't want to be that guy either, but do you know what would have been better than this? I mean, the answer is anything, but also, just put Hornswaggle in the match. He knew how to work, and even though you were going to get some fans that'd be like, oh man, it's just not believable, that's what the creative team is for. Surely this would have been super duper fun. But no, we did it this way instead. Number 8, The Undertaker at Super Showdown 2020. So I don't want to be that guy, but Super Showdown 2020 is not very good. Like if you were going to describe it to somebody who was about to watch it and you didn't want them to, you'd be like, do you have a bunch of favorite wrestlers and would you rather not see them get absolutely destroyed? And if their answer was yes, you'd be like, all right, don't watch Super Showdown. That's all it is. It was also the night when The Fiend lost his Universal Championship to Goldberg. But before all of that, WWE had created some weird tournament for a trophy that someone was going to win, and then we would never talk about it again. So ultimately, it was worthless. Now, actually, it was a massive ruse because, yes, somebody not even in the damn thing was going to win. So when Rey Mysterio was getting ready to go out there and try and become victorious, he got beaten up by Gallows and Anderson. As we teased, it means AJ Styles is going to win by default when the lights went out and The Undertaker was here. And in around about 8 milliseconds, he whooped AJ, pinned him, and now he was the champion of something. Or nothing, I don't know. Now at least it tied into the awesome Boneyard match we get a couple of months later, but how was this allowed? Like, was there a running sheet that said, if Rey Mysterio gets injured, The Undertaker is allowed to compete? And also, what if The Undertaker hadn't gone to Saudi Arabia? What were you gonna do? Now I am being facetious, of course, and we did this so that it would be a surprise, but in terms of suspending your disbelief, well, you can chuck that one out the window. Number 7, Crash Holly at the 2000 Royal Rumble. Now, I always like it when we can talk about Crash Holly because he does not get the praise that he deserves, because he took that hardcore title that had 24/7 rules and he just made it his own, and often he was the most entertaining guy on the show. Now, come the Royal Rumble 2000, it was actually Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe who were feuding over that championship, because why wouldn't it be? This is all very true. When Gerald found Pat hiding in the locker room dressed as a woman in order to hide away from getting his ass kicked, Vince McMahon decided, well, now you've got to both compete in an evening ball gown match. Do with that information what you will. I don't know who it was for. Anyway, the less said about that, the better, but Crash Holly did save the day, because even though this was an official match for the hardcore title, it turned out that the 24/7 rule was still in effect, so he walked out. He got the win, and he ran off with the championship, which helped us for two reasons. One, everybody always wanted Crash to have this title, but two, it also meant we didn't have to see either Pat Patterson or Jared Briscoe naked. So this really is a good version of the title of this video and how you can be creative with it. See, I told you it can be done. You just gotta have some fun. Number 6, Shane McMahon at Crown Jewel 2018. So this really is one of my favorite moments ever for all the wrong reasons. Because when this was going down, I obviously was hanging out on social media. And when Shane McMahon appeared from nowhere to win a tournament that was dubbed the best in the world, the meltdown was so funny, I had an epiphany where I was like, wait a minute. Is this good wrestling TV? Because ultimately, I am having a lot of fun. Now, this show, of course, was controversial for many reasons, but on a lesser level, or a wrestling television level, everybody was a bit confused by this weird World Cup tournament we were doing. Because one, we barely had any major stars with it, and also two, where did it come from? Where did it go? Where did it come from? Cotton Eye Joe. It also begged the question what the winner of this was going to do. What, you're going to walk into a bar with a trophy that says, I am the best in the world, and said, see, I told you, they're just going to think it was made by your mother. Anyway, the final was meant to be Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz, where once again The Miz got attacked backstage, so he wasn't going to be able to compete. And obviously in any other tournament across the world, you would have found a runner-up and said, listen, we need you to take on Dolph. But instead, Shane McMahon's music hit. He beat Dolph Ziggler in around about 2 minutes, and he celebrated like he was legitimately the best in the world. I love it, man. I know it was terrible, and I know it shouldn't have happened, but it made me laugh out loud. And I guess WWE did use this for a long old time. Number 5, Snoop Dogg at WrestleMania 39. It kind of ties into here, because given what had happened between Shane McMahon and The Miz, they sort of went on an elongated feud to the point at WrestleMania 39, when host The Miz and friend Snoop Dogg were in the ring, Shane McMahon made another surprise return, as Snoop told us, oh, by the way, you two are gonna have a match. Now, yes, it didn't go well at all, because when Shane McMahon went for a leapfrog, he pulled his quad, and that is not something you can carry on from. But word then got to Snoop Dogg that said, listen, somebody needs to take on The Miz. So Snoop was like, I'll do it. He proceeded to do the best, worst offense you've ever seen in your life, including a people's elbow, and he defeated The Miz. This goes back to my earlier argument. As long as I'm entertained, I think I'm having a good time. Fair play to The Miz as well, who dealt with this wonderfully. And some people like to laugh at Shane McMahon here, but I don't. Do you know how much that injury sucks? I just hope he got over it as quickly as he could. Still though, ultimately, Snoop Dogg versus The Miz was never written down on a piece of paper, but they pulled it off. So I'm gonna put some respect on Snoop's name. Man knows what he's doing. Number 4, Steve Austin at the Judgment Day in 1998. So at Breakdown in Your House, Vince McMahon said, listen, it's gonna be brand new WWF champion taking on The Undertaker and taking on Kane. And I promise you, Steve, by hook or by crook, you are not going to leave with that title. It, of course, tied into the Austin-McMahon feud, which was one of the best of all time. And when The Undertaker and Kane both pinned him, well, Vince McMahon stole the championship and quite literally ran off. And he was flipping off Steve Austin the whole time. That's pretty good TV. It eventually meant we got to Judgment Day, where it was going to be The Undertaker versus Kane for that still title. And Vince told Steve, listen, you are going to be the special guest referee, and if we don't get a winner here, you're fired. Well, you can imagine what the Rattlesnake did. He just beat everybody up. And when Kane and Taker were on the floor, he counted the 3 and was like, right, I've decided I win. When Vince McMahon followed up on his threat, and he quite literally fired him. Now I get that all sounds awful, and you're like, Simon, what are you talking about? But the execution was so great. But Steve Austin still won a match technically, though it's probably not in the record books. Also, Vince McMahon expunged it, that he was never in to begin with. I mean, it was 2 + 2 = potato, but that was the magic of Steve Austin, man. He just made anything work. Number 3, Brock Lesnar at the 2019 Money in the Bank. So Mustafa Ali talked about this on the Chris Van Vliet show recently, and he did. He gave you the story. Just as he was about to go out to win the Money in the Bank, Vince McMahon took him to one side and said, listen, pal, that ain't happening. And as soon as you touch the briefcase, 1, do not unhook it, but also 2, someone is gonna run down just let them murder you. Now, the awful part is that Ali then had to go to the ring, but he wasn't able to tell his other competitors, meaning when this mystery person did turn up, they were totally shocked too. It was a who's who as well, because it was Andrade, it was Drew McIntyre, it was Finn Balor, it was Randy Orton, it was Ricochet, and they had to react to Brock Lesnar spoilers music as the fans did, because yes, he just ran out at the very end of the match. He absolutely did kill Mustafa Ali when he became Mr. Money in the Bank. Now, the justification here is that Sami Zayn was also meant to be a contender, but he got taken out too with a fake wrestling injury. But you can just go back and read message boards from this time. People were so damn mad, because even though Brock Lesnar with his boom bop briefcase was funny, nobody wanted him to win it before this. Even more so because we hadn't seen him in months. It also killed Ali's momentum, who was about to hit something. Oh yeah, this was just bad, man. Shouldn't have done it. Number 2, Edge at the Survivor Series 2008. So genuinely, at the 2008 Survivor Series, the WWE wanted to run with Vladimir Kozlov versus Triple H versus Jeff Hardy. Now, we can't actually laugh about this because Jeff Hardy got taken out of the match when WWE.com, the official website, ran a story saying he'd been found unconscious in a stairwell. Now, 1, this was not true. It was completely fabricated for a storyline. And 2, this was after Jeff Hardy had gone through some very real personal issues. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. That meant instead we got a one-on-one between Vladimir and Triple H, which nobody wanted. When halfway through, Vicky Guerrero just walked out and said, "Do you know who we haven't seen in a long time? Edge." Well, guess who's in this match now? It was Edge, and can you believe it? This Mother Hubbard won. It meant he was now the WWE champion, and Jeff Hardy did turn up, where he accidentally helped Adam Copeland get this victory. But that just irked the fans even more, because they were like, wait a minute, Jeff is right there. Why isn't he in the match? And while we all love the fact we did have a surprise champion, because people were behind Edge, even as a heel, that's just all over the place. And it was 2 + 2 = potato. Once again, people have paid money for these things. Don't mug them off. Number 1, Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 31. So if you do break it right down, this is probably the best Money in the Bank cash-in ever, especially because it happened in the main event of WrestleMania 31. There's so much to this as well, because of course the original match was Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the Super Duper Whooper WWE title, but on the build, the Raw before, they had done a tug of war over the title. A lot of people were like, are they 12-year-olds? That's all we could come up with. It sucks. Then all of a sudden we got to the Sunday night and they absolutely kicked the crap out of each other. And you can go back and watch this match now. It's pretty damn good. And one of the elbows to the face that Roman Reigns takes, I don't understand how his nose didn't explode. We all kind of assumed that Roman was going to win as well, but there was a bugbear to that, because this was when we were trying to push the big dog, but the fans weren't going for it, which is why on the same day, somebody came up with the idea, well, why don't we have Seth Rollins cash in his Money in the Bank? It was super duper interesting because it turned it into a 3-way, so that was a brand new rule, and after he had stopped Mr. Roman Reigns, he got the 1, 2, 3, he was the champion, he had pulled off the heist of the century, and again, this was the main event of WrestleMania, and he wasn't even on the poster. Well, no, that's not true. He was, because he had a match with Randy Orton later on in the evening that he'd also lost. This was brilliant. This was superb, and it's the complete 180 to some of the entries on this list. That is how you use a gimmick and how you get somebody into a match that wasn't even there to begin with. Now, I'm sure there's other options as well that I haven't thought about, so please do drop me a comment below before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Look, there's another video on the screen that comes from me. Why wouldn't you watch me again? I mean, there's many reasons, so I just leave you now. Take care, friends. Goodbye.